Welcome back to the channel. I'm Rochelle. This is Brampton Gardener, and today we are going to be starting our dwarf tomato seeds. Now keep in mind, it's way too early to be starting regular tomatoes for me here. My last frost date is May 9th, and I'm not planting out tomatoes, peppers, that kind of thing until the end of May, May 20th at the earliest usually. Last few years it's been closer to June. So I'm itching to start some seeds, but dwarf tomato seeds are going to work just fine because I have containers for those and I have the greenhouse. So let's get started. Okay, so we are going to be starting some of my dwarf tomatoes in my little tiny mini soil blocks. Ooh, the sun's coming out. What do we have up for dwarf tomatoes that we're going to try this year? Golden Balcony, wasn't a big fan, nope. Tumbling Tom, we're going to try that again. Canary, oh yeah, no, I liked Canary. Baja, I have a bag of those somewhere else. Ola Polka, they're okay. They're very prolific. They do work well. They're not the most exciting tomato. So we'll see. If I don't have a lot, that's the maybe pile. Bonsai Micro Dwarf. I don't know if there's any more in here. I think I saved seeds for that one. Orange Hat, 100%. Oh, Chocolate Dwarf. Now, Chocolate Tasmanian Dwarf, it's a dwarf, but it's not a micro dwarf. So we're gonna hold off maybe a month or so because that's gonna get way too big. Okay, so here we have the Baja, we have the Bonsai, more Chocolate Taz, Dwarf Mary's Cherry. Wasn't a huge fan. Tiny Tim's, of course. Tasmanian Chocolate. So many different containers of those. Gold Nugget and Golden Balcony. I don't remember being too excited with Golden Balcony. Or Golden Nugget, I don't know. I'm going to stick with these for now, and then I'm going to Google those and see if I want to do those. So we're going to do 5 of each if I have enough seeds, and that should be good. That should be good. And you might be wondering, what am I going to do with all these tomatoes? So last year I grew, I think, 30 tomato plants at my house, and I think 20 to 25 pepper plants. So I have a lot of places to I just shove them in, right? And I plant stuff at my neighbors who are generous enough to let me plant stuff at their house. And the rest I managed to, get rid of. I have plenty of friends and neighbors that are happy to take seeds off my hands. Seedlings off my hands. But these micro dwarfs, like, you can grow them in a very small container. So those like dollar stacking containers, you could easily grow. Especially these bonsai, like the micro dwarfs, you could easily grow like 3 in one of those bigger planters on each level, right? You could grow one on, 3 on each side. No, 1 on each side, so 3 per level. I was right the first time. Okay, and then these are the bonsai micro dwarf. And I should be using my little seed tray because doing it in my hands is it's a little scary. These were very good. I didn't really have the opportunity. I need some water, hold on. I didn't really have the opportunity to, that did not go as planned. I did not have the opportunity to really grow them as long as I would have liked. They ended up, I didn't start them early enough. I did a seed swap, and so I didn't get them until later in the season, so. And something else I'm thinking of doing this year too is like these start producing by May. If I pot them up, so I'll probably pot them up in like early April. They'll go into their regular containers, which are like the stacking containers I have, and they'll come out here into the greenhouse. And so I should have full production by May and June. So I'm thinking around that time, after everything gets planted, I'm going to start another tray of micro dwarf tomatoes, and that way they can kind of replace them. Because I did notice, like, partway through the season, they kind of seemed like they had petered out a bit, and I could have used some replacement plants. Okay, and these are my daughter's favorite to say, the Baja micro dwarfs. These are really tiny tomatoes. So some of the things, like most micro dwarf tomatoes are cherry tomatoes. Some are kind of a larger size, some are medium size. These are very tiny size. But like the chocolate Tasmanian, it's a dwarf tomato. but it has like medium sized tomatoes on it. So the size, when you say dwarf tomato, it's not necessarily talking about the size of the tomato itself. It's the size of the plant. It stays very, very small. But there are some tomatoes, some dwarf tomatoes that you can get full size tomatoes on. So that's good to know. If you're someone that's not a huge fan of cherry tomatoes and you like slicers, you can still find, maybe not micro dwarf, but definitely dwarf varieties. And they also have dwarf varieties of other things that I want to try that I don't have yet. But things like peas, beans, cucumbers. There's a lot of different varieties that are dwarfs. So that's nice. Okay, those are going to go in here. So those were the orange hat, which are adorable and delicious. And it's a little windy out here. Okay, those were the Baja, right? Okay, bonsai, I just did those. Canary were yummy. I believe those are a yellow. The wind is picking up. Apparently we're supposed to be getting a snowstorm coming in tomorrow, so the wind is getting kind of nasty. I don't know if I'll take Dexter for a walk, maybe just up around the block. He got a little cold yesterday. Really wanted to go, but I'm like, dude, it's cold out. So those were the canary. So these are the tumbling toms, and these are like a cascading variety. So if you want to do any tomatoes like in any kind of hanging baskets, this would be a great variety because it kind of has a tumbling growth habit. Or let's say you're doing a green stalk, you can put it at the top of the green stalk. It would be a nice spot for it. I don't have any green stalks. I would love a green stalk. Green stalk, if you're listening, I would love a green stalk. I actually have won 2 green stalks over the course of the last several years. But unfortunately, I won them before green stalk shipped to Canada. And now looking at green stalks, they go on sale now and then. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to see if I can maybe find somewhere locally to buy one and pick it up, because otherwise shipping's $100. Yeah, so on top of the price of the green stock, then you have to pay the $100 shipping, which is a little steep. It's a little steep. You know what? I'm going to stick with this because, you know what? I don't need to grow tomatoes just to grow tomatoes. I have enough to grow that I don't need to grow something just for the sake of it if I'm not absolutely in love with it. So I think I'm not going to grow the Olapoka. The last 2 years, it did produce a ton, but they got... that fungally, they got weird. What was it called? I can't think what it's called. But yeah, they got kind of gross and I had to pull them out early. So I don't know if it was just the season because we just had, it was really, really wet season. Or if they're kind of prone to that. I don't know, but I don't like it. I don't like it. Okay, so my dwarf tomatoes are going to go in the dwarf tomato slot. Aren't you proud of me? I went through, I organized everything. Everything's in its own little section. Okay, so we have here's the regular sized tomatoes. So yeah, we won't be doing the regular tomatoes probably until end of March, beginning of April, somewhere in there. We'll see. We'll see how the greenhouse is set up. Right now, it's still in man cave mode. There's not a lot of room for anything else. Excuse me, sir. You're gonna try and... Okay, you can come up for a minute. We'll cuddle for a minute, and then you have to go back down, okay? Okay, and then you have to go back down. Oh, your paws are so cold from being in the snow. Your paws are cold. Be kind. Okay, so, all right, Dexter, ready for a thumbnail? You gonna do a thumbnail with me? Here is our micro dwarf tomatoes ready to go. Dexter, look at the camera. Look. Are you looking? Are you looking? We gotta get a thumbnail for that. That's gonna be nice, yeah. You're excited. He likes the cherry tomatoes sometimes. Not like Gizmo. Gizmo was obsessed with tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. That's why I started growing the tiny Tims were just for him. He had his own 2 little pot. We're getting knocked over. He had his own little pot with 2 little plants in it, and he could go and harvest them whenever he